Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Chet Does DIY. Tonight we're finished working on restoring a 54-year-old blower motor from a 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle. I could not find this replacement part, anywhere online after many days of searching on various websites. I could not find it. This is the blower motor in question. All right, and the blower motor does exactly what it says. It blows air. Okay, so the white piece, it turns from the motor. The motor is stationary. You see the four bolts there mounted in place, and it turns the white piece. That's the fan. That pulls the air from the outside to the inside and blows fresh air on you. It's not an air conditioner. This is not a radiator fan. This is a blower motor. All it does is blow air from the outside to the inside onto you. The problem with this was, being that it was a 54-year-old, Volkswagen, and I'm sure it was not maintained properly. There were pieces on it that were rusted and completely seized on this blower fan motor. That center piece, you see how you can see three distinct circles? That was so full of rust you couldn't see any circles. On the other side, that was so full of rust you couldn't see anything. That is also supposed to spin freely. So after soaking in PB Blaster for days, using my dentistry tools to scrape around the edges to free everything up on both sides, and then spraying PB Blaster down inside the housing to soak down there in the bottom. You probably can't see very well. There you go. Soak down in there at the bottom. You dump it out. You can't do anything to clean down in there. All you can do is let it soak, because I cannot figure out how to take this piece actually out. This is the original Germany-made factory motor. As you can see, right there, Germany. There's the VW symbol. Here are the numbers. I tried typing in these numbers on every website I could possibly find, and I could find nothing that matched this particularly. So it wasn't only the problem of this being seized up, because this piece spins independently. So the metal piece is mounted in place, and then the white piece, the fan, actually spins. You could not do that. So after soaking in PB Blaster, scraping and soaking, slowly turning, using a little bit of force at a time, it finally broke free. I also used a little tiny welder's hammer with the spike end to tap on that to help use some percussion impact to break free the rust hold, and then it finally gave loose, and now it spins. That's not the only problem about it being seized up. These little rectangular clips, there's one there, and there's one there. See it shiny? Two clips. You might not think that that looks great, and it doesn't. But compared to what it did look like, that's a far sight better, okay? Because it basically looked like a brown rust clump. Behind that retainer clip and on the other side, there are these little bitty tiny springs, which I'm not sure how thick they were from factory, but as you can tell, they are extremely thin and tiny. Whenever I took off that clip, this spring came out in pieces. The other side, it came out in so many pieces that I can't even hold it to show you. So inside the cavity behind that rectangular pressure retainer clip is the spring, which connects to, I'm not exactly sure what to call the part, maybe a diode, maybe some kind of electrical point, I'm not sure. The spring connects that to the pressure retainer clip right there. So after soaking those two clips, that one and the one on the other side, in PB Blaster in like a little bottle cap for days, and using my Dremel tool with a brush tip to clean it, and also sandpaper, and then once I finally felt good enough that it was clean enough, then I used my stone tip on my Dremel tool on low speed to go back and forth across the flat side. There's two flat sides. There's one there and there's one on the inside. Inside is a little tiny hole which the spring sits inside of. So now it looks good, and it is connected, and it is completing the circuit. Also, inside there where that spring goes, behind that rectangular clip on both sides, I spray PB Blaster in there. And I use my nylon brush on the Dremel tool on load speed to go in there and brush that out. Brush all the rust out of there. Once I felt good about that, and I use clean Q-tips to clean that out, then I get my isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, on a Q-tip, and I go in there and I clean it out. Where the spring goes up inside there, I clean off the metal retainer clip with the isopropyl alcohol on the Q-tip. And then I get all these solder joints. As you can see, them shining. There's one there on the left. There's one right there on the right. And you see how that little wire goes up in there? You want to make sure you get up in there with your isopropyl alcohol on your Q-tips and just gently roll around and clean everything off. Make sure everything's good and clean. Everything has a really good connection. Also, that very center post right there, dead center of the screen, you can't see very much, but that was completely caked in rust also. So you're going to get your PB Blaster, spray it up in there, and I suggest you turn it upside down whenever you spray it so it doesn't drain down inside the motor. Okay, and same thing, you get your Q-tips, you get your nylon brush, you go up in there, you clean everything out, and also with your isopropyl alcohol, make sure everything's good and free and good and clean, at least to the best of your ability. I can't figure out how to take the motor out of the fan. There might be a way, but I can't figure it out. Doesn't matter because now it works. So, everything is free moving. Like I said, time and patience is your ally on this. Soaking PB Blaster, breaking free the rust, gently applying pressure, because who knows how dry rotted your fan is, because this is hard plastic. It could be so dry rotted that whenever you put too much pressure on it, it breaks, but luckily this one is in pretty good shape. So we have one ground, which is the brown, which is connected to my negative on my jump box, which I'm going to show you here in a second. And then we have two hots, because the blower motor has 2 speeds. And then I'm going to connect that to the red, the hot, on my jump box, and I'll show you that it actually does work. So the whole point here, guys, is time, patience, PB Blaster. The right tools. Oh, you also see I have some dentistry tools here. I use that to scrape out some areas that are hard to get to. If you don't have tiny little precision tools, good luck to you. You might be able to get it. Anyway, let me pause the video and I'm going to show you that it works. All right, so here's the fan. We are connected on the ground on the brown. I'm going to hold the motor itself by the studs in my hand. Here are the hots. Let's turn on the jumper. And there it is, guys. So time, patience, a lot of meticulous cleaning, attention to detail, and just being careful, because there is no book on how to do this. So I'm hoping this helps somebody out. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you, if I can. As always, good luck and Godspeed. All right, y'all, so I'm sorry I forgot to mention that in lieu of reusing this crappy little fragile spring, and obviously you heard me say in the previous video, the other one just completely fell apart, I found another spring to use, and I wound up cutting it in half with my Dremel tool cutting disc. It's not on the Dremel tool right now, but I used another spring in lieu of this, because this is so thin and so fragile, it barely has any spring lift, and the other one completely fell apart. So I'm going to try to include a picture of that if I can, if it will upload, I'm not sure. But just try to find you a spring that is comparable in size to this, that will fit inside that housing back behind that little rectangular pressure retainer clip right there. You've got 2 of them. You have to have 2 springs. They have to make a good connection, y'all. All right, so hopefully I can edit this and you'll see it.